Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. I intended to just hit pause and I accidentally ended the video, so this one's going on a different video. So it says Callie charges $6 per hour to babysit. Complete the table to show the relationship between the hours she works and her total earnings. Then use the graph to represent the relationship. So it tells us she earns $6 per hour. So that's one of those unit rates that we are talking about in class. So she earns $6 for every 1 hour for each hour. So knowing that, if she worked 2 hours, how much money will she earn? Right, $12. Okay, well, how much would she earn in 4 hours? And this handout is pretty straightforward, and you probably can just do this automatically. If you need to think about the relationship between the ratios, how do you go from 2 hours to 4 hours? It's a times 2. So 12 times 2 gives us 24. Our ordered pairs so far are 2, 12 and 4, 24. So what about 6? Can we go from 2 to 6? How do you do that? What are you scaling up by? If you start at 2 hours, but you want to figure out for 6, right? We are scaling up by a times 3. And then here we're doing the same thing, times 3. So 12 times 3 is 36. I can use the additive reasoning to kind of justify that and check it. 2 plus 4 gives me 6. 12 plus 24 gives me 36. We can also verify these, and this I'm just going to write down. You don't have to write this, but we can just use that unit rate that we talked about in class to check these. So $12 for 2 hours gives us $6 per 1 hour. $24 for 4 hours. 24 divided by 4 gives us $6 for every hour. $36 for 6 hours. 36 divided by 6, $6 per hour. So we have 6 and 36 here. Okay, so in order for our 8 to work, it needs to be able to simplify to 6 over 1. So how do we go from, we could do any of these. Maybe we'll do the 2. The 4. 4 to 8 is a times 2. So 24 times 2 will give us 48. Let's check that over here. Is 48 divided by 8 equal to 6? It is indeed. Our ordered pairs are 8 and 48. I really wanted to do that in blue. It's okay. Does not matter. I will switch color for this graph though, because there's a lot of orange over here. So remember, X comes first and then Y in our ordered pairs. And this is our x-axis, and this is our y-axis. The first number in the ordered pair is the x. It tells us how many to go left and right. So we're going over to 2 and then up to 12. So I said left and right because we are going to extend the graphs into other what's called quadrants. So we will end up with having some negative numbers. Right now we're only working, this is called quadrant 1. And we're only working with positive numbers. It'll probably be late January or February or so where we will go into some of the other quadrants. Okay, 424. So we're going to go over to 4, up to 24, over to 6, up to 36, over to 8, up to 48. And then we are going to connect the dots. you need to use a straight edge when you're doing this. You can't just all willy-nilly just try to draw a straight line. You need to use a straight edge, whether it's a ruler or an index card, a sheet of paper, something. You need to use a straight edge. For those who are thinking about the equations, which we don't have to use this here. This was here for a completely different lesson that I used years ago. I probably should have whited it out, but I will just kind of make the connection. 6 times the number of hours equals the total amount that you earn. So if this equals the earnings and H is hours, $6 times the number of hours gives you your total earnings. So let's check it. 6 times 4 is 24. Let's say 8 hours. 6 times 8 is 48. So that works. How many hours must Callie work to buy the new pair of shoes that cost $50? So if we find $50 on the graph, so let's see, it looks like this is going up by 6s, but then halfway between these would be, let's see, so halfway between 48 and 54. So we're looking for where 50 would be, right? So each between 0 and 6, there are no other intervals. So if we thought about halfway up, though, there would be 3. So then here we would have 9, 12, another 3, 15, and so on. So we would have right here would be 51. The shoes cost $50. So if we can follow around the $50 over, so we know it's going to cost somewhere between $8 and $9. So somewhere between 8 and 9. Can she work 8 and 9 hours? Can she work 8 hours? If she works 8 hours, how much money does she make? $48. Can she work just 8 hours? No. If she works 9 hours, does she have enough money? The 9 hours goes to right there, and then she's at $54. So how many hours must she work? She must work 9 hours. Mark takes a walk every day with his dog. The graph shows the relationship between the number of days he walks and the total distance he walks. Use the graph to fill in the table below. All right, so now this time we have the graph and we're going to fill out the table. So this is telling us the days, which is our x-axis. So here's our x, here's our y, x, y. Ordered pair is always x comma y. So if we go over to 2 days, that lines up here with 10 blocks walked. So 10. Again, in your book and Mathia, they show dotted lines here. But if I had a whole bunch of dotted lines on each of these, it would be so hard to read, which is why I like the index card, because it just helps you align it without making the graph a mess. So our ordered pair here is 2 comma 10. Okay, 4 days. So if we go over to the 4, we have a great big giant dot here, which is at 20. So we have 4, 20. And what about 6? 6 goes with 30. And then 8. 8 and 40. How many blocks does Mark walk? That should be a capital M. 3 lines underneath a letter means capitalize it. How many blocks does Mark walk per day? Well, let's connect our dots here. So one day, the line goes across right here at this, it's called really a crosshair right here, like where, like if you ever look in the scope of a gun, like the hunters out there, right? You kind of have like the crosshairs, like this is where you're aiming your target for, right? So that's what we see here. So it crosses here at 5. So he walks 5 blocks per one day. How long will it take him to walk 100 blocks? Well, let's think about that. So if he has, we're going to use a ratio. We're not necessarily going to write this equation. So if 5 blocks in one day, then we want 100 blocks. And how many days is that? So how do you go from 5 to 100? Multiply by 20. So here we're going to do a times 20. So it will be 20 days. If we did write the equation, it would be 5 blocks times the number of days equals 5 times the number of days equals the total number of blocks walked. So we could use B as your variable there. 5D equals B. Okay, so 5 times D. All right, I hope this is helpful. I'm going to hop over into the book for the next video.